So when we want to check the status programmatically, we have to use this object to query. And let's say I want to check only the one record that is started my job. So what I can do, where ID equal to, so I got some ID over here, right? Mm, 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 mm. Let's say this is my job ID. So I want to only check this record only. So I get only one record like this. You control C and open an anonymous window here. Job status equal to this. So we can do a query and check the status over here. So if I execute now, and let's see how it will be behave. I'm checking immediately. So by the time I check also, it's saying completed. So it don't have any much logic. So it is getting completed immediately. If you have a long running process and you have some operations, then it will take some time. Okay, you can see it. Batch Apex completed, process 19, items 19, completed date, all this. Okay, so before we are jumping on to the next topic, if you have any questions, you can ask.
So Bala, we can call a batch up from the triggers.
Yes, you can call.
Okay.
Okay. Any other we have? So we have a second part in the batch also without using the database dot query locator. There is one more concept called a custom iterable. So before going into that, I want to cover the other two, that is queueable and schedulable. So first, we'll start with the queueable. Queueable is, it would be similar to a future method. So if you want to execute any piece of code and just a piece of code that want to be executed in a separate thread as a new transaction and nothing else you have, like it's not like a long running process, you don't want to enhance anything else, just you want to separately execute the thing, a piece of code, then we can use a queueable method. So here in the queueable, we don't have any limitation to call a batch or a call a future. You can call anything from a queueable, but we cannot call a queueable from another queueable multiple levels. So it will go up to only one level, and it will not be allowed like a multiple queueables. So even though the context you need to understand when I'm saying now I'm going back. When I'm saying a future cannot be called inside another future. So so you write one future method inside that block, you cannot initiate a fresh future method. You cannot do that. And similarly, you cannot even call a batch also from a future method. So already future is a running as a separate transaction, and you cannot again start a new REST transaction using a future or a batch. But you can call a batch. Sorry, queuable you can call. Similarly, from queuable also you can call a future, and queuable you can call a batch. Sorry. And from batch also, we can call another batch, and you can call a queuable, but you cannot call a future method from the batch. Okay. And when you're saying like we can call another future from a future, that means you can only call from a finish method. And start and execute methods are not allowed to call another batch. When I'm saying calling, you're going to start a new method, or like database.execute is what a calling a batch means. Okay, so now let's look at what actually a queuable, how to implement a queuable. Queuable also similar to a batch. We need to write a dedicated a class, and there we have to implement a queuable context, and then we have to like abstract class we have to implement, and those methods has to be um, written to complete the queuable. So we'll be having only one method for queuable called execute method. So execute method and execute method, yeah, execute method return type would be a void, and execute method parameter is going to be a queuable context. Similarly, how we have a batchable context, similarly we'll be having a queuable context. And Apex class needs implements as a queuable. That's it for a queuable. It's not like a batch. It's very simple code. You need fresh new Apex class queuable example Apex Apex example. So where we have to write implements queuable, and then public void execute, and the parameter should be queuable context. Queuable context. You can give any variable name, that doesn't matter. And here all your code will goes here. Any piece of code you can do it over here. Let's say I want to create an account here. Let's say account equal to new account a dot name equal to account from Queueable Apex Without industry. This time I'm giving a random industry set, nothing else. Underbar insert it. Okay, so this is how we write a Queueable Apex. So once we write a Queueable Apex, how to execute this or how to call this method? How to how to call this was it will be first of all we need to create a queueable or sorry, we have to create the instance of this class, like how we did for batch apex, and then system dot nq job. This is how we will system dot nq job is used to execute a queueable method. When you do, again we'll be getting a id for it. id queueable job id equal to this one, and this. So this will be that's how we will execute a queueable method. So what we did in the queueable method, we created a one account and we have some ID. So just I will refresh this one and you can see like what's the status and how it behaves. You can see that job type will be a queueable, and this will also not having any batches, and it will not even have a methods as well. Why? Because this will also not a method. And now I have created a account. Let's see whether I was able to see the account over here or not. What is the account name? Account from a Queueable or something, I guess. Account. This is account from a Queueable Apex. Okay. Any questions over here?
Banu,
Yeah.
execute is a method, right?
Yes.
But there it is not showing no methods in batch and queueable Apex.
So in batch also we have three methods:
Three methods.
start, execute, and finish. But these methods um, are not defined. This is a batch, which defines class will define this is a batch class. Similarly, here also the class is defined as a queueable here, not about the method. So when you call this object only, even though you are not calling any method over here, see anywhere are you calling any method over here? Are you calling execute method? No, right? So you only doing a system.nq job. That means there is a job queued in your so that it will whenever the resources are available execute it. That's what. But what needs to be executed and not mentioning. So it will execute this method. This method will come from the this abstract class called a queueable. So this will tell you what needs to be executed and what piece of a code will be executed. Where in future we will not write any class and we directly take any method and just we annotate with the future method. Future. So future is a method. So to define a method, you need to know which class, and in that class, which method is a future method you have to mention. But whereas here in batch or queuable, the class itself we are implementing an abstract, and then we are executing a that class, so that it will be running in that context. In that class, this execute is the queuable context. When you do a job queue, this is what a context that is going to execute when you do a system.enqueue job. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions we have? Now, schedulable. So schedulable also same thing. It will also execute a block of code in a separate thread. But here we have an option to when to execute. If you want to schedule sometime, it could be one time or it could be a repeated number of times, but you want to do it and you want to do a schedule. Sorry, you want to do a schedule, then we will use a schedule job. So it could be repeated like every year or every month or every week or every day. Sorry, this time. And you want to repeat it every time, or like every 2 weeks you want to repeat this code to be executed. You want to do something like a scheduling, then we will use this Apex schedulable, so that we can schedule that piece of code to be run in that time. Again, we have to remember this again a asynchronous. It will not exactly run at the time, but it will enqueue at the time. So usually it will run immediately, but there is no guarantee. So it will enqueue at the time. If the resources are available, it will run immediately. If the resources are not available, it will be in a queue. And whenever the resources are available, it will execute. That's what scheduling means. So here a batch or a queuable thing, whenever you queue it, so it wait in queue, resources are available, it will execute. Schedule means it will not queue immediately. It will schedule, and in the schedule time, it will be get into the queue. Okay. Now, how to do a schedule? This will also be exactly similar to a queuable, with not much differences. So file effects. Example. So here it will implements schedulable, and then public void execute. Here we will be having a just I'm not doing anything, just I was printing. There's a schedulable context code block. That's it. So now this is how a schedulable class will be. Nothing else, just we will implement a schedulable, and we'll be having a method called execute only as part of an abstract class. And how it will know, we have to mention this schedulable context, and only it will understand this is a execute method from an abstract class, and all your code block will go here. That's all. So once you've done this one, okay, the class is ready, then how to schedule it? You can do a schedule from here. There are two different ways of scheduling a schedulable Apex. How we're doing? They are like one place is you having all Apex class from a setup. Also, we can see there. Also, we have option to schedule a batch job using this button. You can see schedule Apex. Example would be like this, and how to execute will be a method one. Setup Apex classes, and then go to the schedule Apex button. So you see schedule Apex button. You can all see this one, schedule Apex. Once you click on the schedule Apex button, you will be jump onto the schedule Apex page where you can see the frequency will be weekly, monthly. When you're saying weekly, all weekdays are shown. When you have monthly, you can specify what are the days on the day, which day of the month you want to execute, or like on like first, second, third, or last specific day. Like you want to like execute on a second Monday, and then you have to specify start date and end date of your schedule and what time you want to execute, like 10 a.m., 3 a.m., anything like that. You can specify the time and your frequency, and you can give the some name. Example, schedule job. So here we need to pick that job which is having these capabilities. So you have only this job, so this will be shown up, and then you can say, let's say I want to only execute on a weekdays, like 3 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. These 3 days I want to execute, and then the start and end of this will be um, Jan 11 to February 11. For 1 month I want to schedule, or you can want to do it like for a lifetime. Then just you can give some more number of years here, like triple two, or just you can give any number so that it will be executed till that time. Okay, and then if you say save, it will be scheduled. And how can I check what is status of it? And if sometime I want to cancel it, how can I do it? So you can go to the schedule jobs place, and you can view all the scheduled jobs that's being queued. You can see scheduled jobs. The scheduled jobs, you can see all those scheduled jobs. So this is what an example schedule Apex job that we did. So if you want to delete, so it will be removed all the schedule things. And if you want to manage, you can again change the frequency or time or start and end date. You can make a change to it. Give all required fields, schedule the job. How to monitor, or change the schedule or delete schedule. How we can do? Setup schedule jobs, search with your name, search with your job name, delete or manage. manage is used to change the frequency or start end date and time. Okay, and method 2. So any questions so far before I jump into method 2?
So Bala, if you go to the this page, so can you scroll down? Uh, so can you select the time option? And can you go to this time option? Okay. So like this one we have 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, right? So if you want to give it like 7:30, something like that.
Hmm. And that's what I was going to explain. So this is method 2 where we're going to have somewhat more control over here. I'll explain that. So from the UI, we don't have a control to give in minutes, but we have other method to schedule the job from the Apex where we have a precise control even on the minutes part also. Minutes and even seconds also we have a control. But from the UI, while doing schedule, this is what a limitation. We have a limitation of but in hours only we can schedule. We don't have option to schedule in minutes.
Okay.
Any other questions we have before going to that?
Yeah, I had one.
Okay.
So, the one which is scheduled right now is like straightforward. Like you can schedule it at any particular time in the day. But what if we have a scenario where this is dependent on some other action? We don't know when the other action will be happening.
What's the other action, for example?
Uh, for example, if I take a status on account, we want to schedule a job whenever, or maybe opportunity whenever is an opportunity is closed one. We want to schedule something. Then we never know when the status will be closed one, but we do want to schedule whenever that
No,
action happens.
what actually a schedule means? Schedule means if you know when to execute and you know the date and time, then only we go for a schedule. So if we have a some other action will decide when to execute, then we will not go for this one. That context will be different. Schedule Apex will be used when we specifically know when to execute a piece of code and how much frequency we want to execute. If it is a predefined, then we'll go for a schedule. Schedule Apex, that's what it is actually. When you have this kind of a context, then we'll go for a schedule. If you have any dependency and if some action has happened based on that you want to run some code or execute some code, then you might use future or queuable methods to do that. Why? Because whenever that action is happened, from there you will call the queuable method or a future method. From there you will execute it. And based on that, if you have a different schedule, then I'm going to explain you a second part of it, where we'll be initiating the schedule from a Apex. From Apex also, we can schedule a job. So we have this Apex class, and this Apex class will be scheduled using a UI. This is the first method. Second method will be this Apex will be scheduled from a Apex code itself. So so how we did for Queueable and batch class, right? Whether we do system.enqueue or database.execute batch. Similarly, there will be some context where we do it from a programmatically. But so that's what the question or anything else. So I will jump onto that one, how to do it.
Yeah, same thing.
So we'll be having a concept called a cron expression. So this cron expression is used to schedule a job in a certain frequency. So the cron expression will tell what is the frequency, and then followed by your job name, and then your instance of your Apex class. Schedulable Apex example over here. So we have object, system, schedule. Here it's going to be a 3 parameters. One is a schedule job name, and going to your cron expression, and then your object. So what is a cron expression? Cron expression will also be kind of a string, but it will be having some order of a sequence to define what is a seconds, what is a minutes, what is a hours, what is a day, what is a month, and week, year, all those things. Okay. Sorry. The cron expression will have a parts, like usually how it will be, like seconds, minutes, and let's say hours, and then a day in a month, let's say first day of the month, and then month is let's say 4, and then day in a month, and then month. Now week means let's say I don't have any month specified, week, and then followed by the year. So let's say 2022. It's my cron expression. It would be like the expression would be first parameter would be seconds, space, minutes, space, hours, space, and then day in month, and then month, and then um, week in month, and then year. This is what your expression is going to be. First one is the seconds, minutes, hours, day in a month, and week in a month, and year. There would be some characters to define in this apart from the numbers. Let's say if I take example of a seconds, what is the range of seconds? We have a 0 to 59 seconds. This is what a seconds will have. Minutes also 0 to 59 minutes you will be having. hours will be 1 to 20, not 24, 23 hours we'll be having for this one. Day in a month, it will be 1 to 31, this range. And a month will be 1 to 12. And a week in a month, it will be a 1 to 5. And I think 1 to 5 or 1 to 6, I guess. And then year could be maybe it could be optional as well. Now this is what are ranges that we can use. And apart from this, so far, do you understand or not? So cron expression will be a integers with spaces, and the integers will be defined in this order. First integer will define the seconds of your schedule. Second integer will be minutes of your schedule, and is the allowed values are 0 to 59, 0 to 59 hours, and then day in a month, and then week in a month, and a year. It is an optional one, still you can use it. Okay, so far clear. Now there are some special characters also we use. Those are, for example, question mark. Question mark could be is used to define for use is defined for invalid values. That means, so when you want to execute on a specific day of the month, okay, let's say every 5th of the month you want to execute, okay. So in those scenario, you are not sure, right? What will be the week in that month? It could be a first week or it could be a second week, and there is a no guarantee what could be the thing. So in those scenarios, we will use a question mark. And let's say if you want to like use a first Monday of a month, or like a first working day of the a month, in those scenarios the day of the month will be a question mark. Why? Because you're not sure which day will be a working day for that month. You are not sure. So in those scenarios, which are like not valid values, we'll use this question mark. Okay. And the next character would be a star. So for all values you want to execute, let's say for in those case, I want to execute every month, 5th I want to execute. So in this month range, uh, I'm don't care, like whatever this month, or like for every month I want to execute this job, then I will use a star mark. Or like every day of the month I want to execute it, then I will give a star here. That means all possible values will be all possible values will be uh, taken into consideration. I think there similarly there will be some other similar characters that we are going to explain. We'll continue that tomorrow. Okay. Before that, if you have any questions, you can ask. So there are some more other characters as well using this Cron expression and do a scheduling using the second method of scheduling a job. Okay. So any questions you have?
So, Bala, do we have any limitations